Hey there, YouTube. Hoosier Archer here, and this is another episode of my Thirsty Thursday. And this is actually a redo because something happened during the initial filming of this. This is, we're moving up the potency in the Thirsty Thursdays this week with Knob Creek Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. 100 proof, and I'm not going to pour very much this time because I've already done this video once and the edit messed up and something unfortunate happened during the filming last time. But anyway, as you can see, it has a nice amber color. It's got a typical bourbon nose, except there's a slight bit of astringency to it, and I imagine that's because it's 100 proof. So this won't be the first taste because the first taste was in the other video, but I will tell you what if it still tastes as good. It's simply marvelous. There are the usual bourbon notes of smoke and caramel. And but there's also a little hint of vanilla, which I find absolutely delightful. This is, not to put too fine a point on it, sipping liquor, or if you prefer, sipping liquor. And this is not potty time American style. Although it could be used for that, it is a very potent potable. However, I think the Epicurean would get more delight from this. Pardon me, had a little bit go down the wrong way. Very smooth for 100 proof. That cough had nothing to do with that. But the nuances of the flavor more in line with the Epicurean palate than the Let's Get Hammered group. Hey, and if you're one of the Let's Get Hammered group, more power to you. If you're of the proper age and the proper character, but you find the need to get your drink on, you go right ahead. This would probably be, 1, too expensive, 2, not worth mixing. This should be drank just exactly the way I'm drinking it, just out of a glass. As I said, this is sipping liquor. This is conversations in the living room or out on the front porch. This is a card game without cigars, game of euchre or cribbage or a game of backgammon. Yeah, this is, I would pour this for company if I knew they were bourbon drinkers. This is a mite better than my everyday bourbon. Not that my everyday bourbon is a slouch in any way, shape, or form. But the only reason that I got this, actually, this has been outside beyond my price point for a first-time try of a bourbon, but they just actually, I went down the liquor aisle of a drugstore, and they had this Knob Creek on sale, almost a full $15 off, something like $14.80 off the normal price, and that brought it down in line with like Maker's Mark or uh, Jim Beam Black, or Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace, I'm going to be trying that in the near future too. That one kind of intrigues me. That's actually produced locally in the very town that I live in. I'm surprised I haven't tried it yet, but I haven't. And this is the first time for this Knob Creek. I believe my first whiskey Thirsty Thursday was actually Knob Creek Rye. And ever since I've tried the rye, I've wanted to try the bourbon. The same reason that I bought the rye was the same reason I bought the bourbon, because it was they for some reason had this remarkably good sale on it. You know, uh, hard liquor uh, prices are pretty rigidly set. You don't see things go on sale very often. So when they do, try to take advantage of them. If there's something that you want to try, watch for the sales. If you're somebody who likes to try a lot of different things, and I do, and I'm really glad that I pulled the trigger on this. Um, I have a couple days off coming up, and I think I might actually just sit reading a book and sipping this. That just sounds like a wonderful afternoon to me. Oh, when it's 100 proof, you get these back notes that come up through the back part of your sinuses up into your nose. And it's a really warm sensation, and you get uh, this aroma of a comfortable room. Is the only way I can put it, because of a little bit of smoke and to be quite honest, a little bit of like caramel candy that's in bourbon. It just feels like comfort to sip a very good bourbon, and this definitely was that. So my score on this, since nothing is perfect, 4.95. It really is that good. Um, Taste is the most objective or subjective of the senses, taste and smell, uh, but mine is educated and run through the mill a few times, because I will eat things that would frighten you, and I will drink things that might disgust you, and because I'm not afraid to try new things, because they broaden uh, the experience of the taste buds, the nose, the brain, and therefore let you know the nuances of things that are even everyday. Uh, so at least that's my take on it. Uh, I've been in. Okay, when I was, I'll just really quickly, I'll tell you why I decided to be an Epicurean in life. I grew up in the restaurant business. My parents owned a uh, little restaurant that was the kind of restaurant that made just general American food, hamburgers, French fries, fried chicken with mashed potatoes, and green beans was one of the Sunday specials, and um, that sort of thing, and hot dogs and ham sandwiches and the like. Uh, and when I turned 16, my parents decided they wanted to sell the restaurant, and because my father got promoted at Ford Motor Company, so he could just work there, and um, so uh, So we sold the restaurant, but because I was already cooking by that time, a friend of the family, who was a chef in the Detroit metropolitan area, got me a job at an Italian restaurant as a learner, as an apprentice, as a sous chef. Well, not a sous chef, but a trainee to learn how to cook. And it was a real Italian restaurant. And I walked in the first time to talk to the guy, and they had an actual copper and brass cappuccino maker. And it was one of the most beautiful things I ever saw in my life. And I was just standing at it smiling. And the chef came out and looked at his watch and said, "Hey, it's only 10:30." And I didn't have any idea what that meant, but he walked back and he got 2 cups and he made us both cappuccinos. And he said, "Now, you Americans will drink cappuccino any time of the day, but Italians don't drink it after 11 o'clock. After 11 o'clock we have espressos. And after 11 o'clock I'll give you an espresso. And we'll see how you like it." Anyway, he gave me a cappuccino, and I freaking fell in love with it. I made sure I always got, no matter what time I was scheduled, I came into work before 11 o'clock so I could have a cappuccino. And yes, I do like a shot of espresso every once in a while with just mildly sweetened and no twist of lemon, but just mildly sweetened. And it's bella, beautiful. So yeah, and just the Italian restaurant, it taught me to really appreciate food, really appreciate the taste of things, really look for the nuances. And one of the things that the chefs that I worked under and the other chefs that I've worked with, that they always have turned to me and go, "What do you think this needs?" when they were making something, and I would taste it and I would say, "Okay, what are you going for? Do you want this to be just eat it, or do you want them to season themselves? Because it could use a pinch more salt. But if you want them to be able to season at table, or if you just want them to go ahead and eat, if you want them to go ahead and eat, add a teaspoon, add a pinch of salt. If you want them to salt at table, then leave it the way it is." But that really could benefit from a few cloves of garlic, or sometimes I'd say a few cloves of garlic, or sometimes I'd say simmer it a while with a bouquet garni with chervil, rosemary, and they would, if they did what I said, they would see that it was better. Because my taster works. It always has worked. And that's one of the reasons I do this Thirsty Thursday, because I no longer work in a restaurant that my taster matters. My nose doesn't matter. My taste buds don't matter. Things are set in stone as to the way they should be made. And I can't even come up with specials that they might put on sometimes. And so this is one way I can share a gift that I believe came from the great maker. So that's going to end this Thirsty Thursday. Remember, 4.95 and sippin' liquor. Although at that potency, it could go from sippin' liquor to get your load on time. So, like the man says, and the man being the powers that be, drink responsibly. Or not. I personally don't care. Just don't get behind the wheel of a car if you do it. God bless, happy trails, and watch your top knot.